Welcome to the Practicing Accountant Podcast, where we provide actionable insights to help accounting firm owners thrive. In today's episode, we're discussing 5 essential practices that every firm owner should incorporate into their operations year-round. These are not just seasonal actions, but habits that can significantly impact the success and sustainability of your firm and you. Let's dive in. I hope you enjoy this episode. I'll put a gigantic asterisk next to this to say that there are probably people that are going to see this, listen to it, that are doing some of these things, and I applaud you. But I would also challenge to say there's probably few that are doing all of them. And there are firms that do these things from time to time, but they're fleeting. You know, they don't happen all the time. They don't happen regularly. They may happen at one point and then years go by. But for me, these are things that should be done on a regular basis. And whether it's summertime or busy season or whatever time it is, you know, there's certain things I think that should constantly be available and operating within a firm, for its own success.
Yeah.
And so I'll run through the list real quick, and then we'll circle back and kind of go through each one individually.
Yeah.
Number 1, tracking data. Number 2, serving clients as well as you could. Number 3, getting the ideal client. Number 4, building succession. And succession can come in many forms, and I'll go into it. And number 5, creating the business that you want. I think those 5 things just aren't being done, at least on a regular basis, if at all. So let me circle back. So first of all, tracking data. Tracking data is one of the things that I love doing the most. And if I can get myself a spreadsheet where I can mess around with numbers for a day, like many of the folks that hopefully are listening, that's a great day. Like, love to play with numbers, love to look at the statistics, love to look at the data. And if you think about an accounting firm, what is there to track? Well, you know, you've got hours. That's the obvious thing. You've got fees. That's a great one. But then after that, you can start carving up into, these little KPIs like net fee per professional, or, really getting into realization and utilization, understanding the margins, not just as a firm, but for a service or per a client. And I don't think we do the best job of tracking data. I think we track enough to bill our clients.
Yeah.
But that after that, it gets a little vague. It gets a little empty. Like, are we tracking the amount of time we're spending in business development or networking? Are we tracking the amount of time that we're giving away, i.e. I just need 5 minutes phone call?
Yeah.
Are we tracking, the time we're meeting internally to talk about important things going on in the firm, administrative things, training? Of course, we track CPE for our certification, but are we really tracking as much data as we can? And there is just a wealth of knowledge and opportunity in that data. But unless we have it captured, we miss that opportunity. And I love I love to reflect and look back on a client and say, okay, how much time did I bill? And how much time did I really spend? If I really think about that relationship with the client, how much time did I spend on the phone? How much time did I spend traveling if I had to? How much time did I spend providing a presentation of their return, or delivering the return, or doing the tax planning? And most importantly, what's the total cost of a client relationship? I think it's eye-opening. I think you can find some real evidence there to say, you know what, I'm not charging enough. I'm giving a whole lot of value away. And I think that's happening regularly. Unless you have that data, you miss that chance. And while you may at the end of it say, well, it's just it's a $400 return. I spent 2 hours on it. I did great on it. Or I charged them $1,000 and I only spent 2 hours doing it. And we kind of pat ourselves on the back and say, great job. Yeah, we really got our value out of that one. But it's not true. That's a farce, because there's more time into it than just the time you sat down to do the return, to prepare it, to review it, to make sure it got received. There's more to that relationship that we're not tracking, and we pat ourselves on the back a little prematurely. And I think we need to have that data so that we can truly understand what the cost of the relationships and the work we are providing is giving. And that data, once it started to be collected, then you have the ability to compare and contrast. How was last busy season versus this busy season? How do I want next busy season to go? How many hours do I want to work? If you ask a professional in public accounting how many hours they work, they're going to come up with some arbitrary number. And this is the bigger you get as a firm, the more time you spend tracking data. But in kind of that low to mid tier, and by low I mean solopreneur, and by mid tier I mean anywhere from 100 to 150 people. You don't have that accuracy, and it's really a missed opportunity. You can do this as a solopreneur. Yes, it's a pain in the ass to track your time. I get it, and I also know that we're trying to get away from tracking hours. I get it. But this is data for the business, not necessarily for the bill. This is data so that you can say how you performed in the game. Like, what was the score of that game, that last busy season? And how do we want that to score in this coming busy season? And it can be done simply with a spreadsheet, just something that tracks your hours. It could be something that you build and shows fees and hours and what you bill and don't bill and the realization, the utilization, all that good stuff. But I think that's one thing that's not being done enough of, especially in the smaller firms.
Let me counter that. I had something very similar in my list, and it was evaluate. And by that, I mean where are you bringing value to the client, and how valuable is that, instead of finding your place in the commodity game. So my list revolved around decommoditization, and this is one of those things. There's so much chatter with getting rid of the billable hour, getting rid of timesheets, and I agree with that to a certain extent. You have to have a starting point. You have to know something. You have to know something about your business.
I think the whole, it's like, imagine going to the Olympics where they didn't keep time in the different sports that were being held, or watching a mile race and we don't keep time. Like, time is very valuable, and it's very important to capture. And on a monthly basis, I look at what I billed that month. I look at how many hours it took me to come up with that bill. I come up with my total effective rate, which isn't what I billed. It's how many hours I spent on my clients, over that revenue, which gives me a number which is usually lower than what I'm actually, lower than what I want it to be. What my standard hour rate is, it's my realization. And I track cumulatives, I track rolling 12s. Not only that, but I also predict the next month. So I know what my revenue will be next month, which allows me to react to that number and say, it's lower than I want it to be. So I need to get more clients in, or that's a shit ton. Great. Congratulations, Doug. And take it easy. You don't need to push on the business development dials too much right now. But without that data, I'm just going month to month without having an idea of where I'm at, or how I performed, or where I am compared to last year, or any of that good stuff. And it's really telling. And to your point, you can't evaluate whether you're making progress, or whether you're really seeing a return on the investment of your time. And it's something that's missing, and it can be added.
Agreed. Very much.
The second thing I had was serving clients as well as you could. Did you have a favorite steakhouse?
Oh, I could say Ruth's Chris.
You like Ruth's Chris? I actually got kicked out. I'm banned for life from Ruth's Chris.
What happened?
I passed out in the girls' bathroom. I didn't mean to, but it was a bachelor party, and no, it was a wedding. It was a wedding. No, maybe it was a bachelor party. I don't know. It was a bunch of dudes getting together doing stupid stuff.
Yep.
And one thing led to another. One drink led to another, and apparently I disappeared. And everyone that was there was concerned with where I might be, and they thought I might be walking around town without any idea where I'm at or what I'm doing. But fortunately, one of my buddies knows that I tend to go places and just camp out and fall asleep. And so he asked permission to go into the women's restroom, and they found me in there in the stall, taking a nice little nap, which I woke up from and made my way back to wherever we needed to go. Anyway, I digress.
This is last week, right?
No. Oh, no. No. This is many years and a couple of kids ago. But when you go to Ruth's Chris, what's that experience like for you?
I mean, it's exquisite. It's debonair. It's all the nice things you could think of. It's very high touch. Anything you want, they'll give you.
Yeah. From like the moment you show up, right? They treat you like you're, whether you are or not, a very important person, right?
Yeah.
You're a patron of their establishment, and they're excited to see you, and they're excited to take your money. But you fall into their design the moment you step into the door. Like, they know how to greet you. They know how to get you seated. They know how to serve you when you're seated. They know how to make sure to check in with you while you're seated. They make sure they know how to bring out what you ordered correctly. They know how to collect the check. They know how to keep you around a little bit longer in case you want another drink or dessert. And they know how to let you go with a smile on your face and a mint at the door.
Yeah.
They put you into a service plan. And so this serving clients better than you are, or as well as you could, is like being the owner of Ruth's Chris. You have to have systems in place to take the order, to deliver the order, to collect the check, to ascertain satisfaction, and to offer dessert. And I'll go through those again. Take the order, deliver the order, collect the check, ascertain satisfaction, and offer dessert. And that should happen with our clients. We should be very, very good at taking their order. What services do they need? What would they like us to do? What's important to them? What steak do they want? And how do they want it cooked? And then we should also be really good about delivering it too. And the best steakhouses, when they bring out their steak, they make you cut into them. Why? Because they want to make sure it's at the temperature that you ordered. And if it's not, you have an opportunity right then to say, no, that's too red, or that's too whatever, send it back. And they will. They'll take it back and they'll give you another one. But when they deliver the order, they make sure that it was what you ordered and that you're happy and content. But then it doesn't stop there, because then there's that manager that walks around and stop by your table and interrupts the conversations. Like, is everything good? Is everybody happy? Is there anything you need? And again, that's part of their service model. And then hopefully you've eaten it, you've enjoyed it. And if there's an event, or like it's an anniversary, or if it's something special, where they go over and above. They bring you a free drink or a free dessert or a free something, or they sing for birthdays. Probably don't say singing at Ruth's Chris, but some establishments you do.
Sure.
They're going over and above. They ascertain satisfaction. Or were you happy with your meal? Was there anything else we could have done? And they make sure you know that they value you. Thank you for being a patron in our establishment. They collect the check, and they come and they deliver it, and they hand it to you, and it's the last thing they do. And they make sure, again, that you're happy all the way up until that point. And sometimes with that check, they bring you something like a free dessert, or that free mint, or that free drink, something that really just helped you add to that tip line when you finally sign.
Yeah.
And then that last piece, going over and above, the offering dessert. It's something I think is the biggest opportunity with public accounting firms, is to offer something or provide something of value to our clients at no cost.
Right.
Something that's free. It's part of the package. It's something that I just do with all my clients. It's something that's important to me, and it's to you for free, no value, no cost. I mean, there's value, but no cost. Mm-hmm. And I think that's an opportunity. So that model, it is called the 5-star client model, of taking the order, delivering it, of collecting the check, of ascertaining satisfaction, and offering dessert. That is an opportunity to bump up the client experience, which then allows you to maybe charge more, maybe have stronger relationship, maybe get better referral, whatever it may be, but it's an opportunity.
You bet. And I wholeheartedly agree with creating a customer experience. That allows you to differentiate yourself. So I shop around, I outsource my tax return to a different firm almost every year, just to see what people are doing. And generally it's a shitty experience.
Yeah. It's the same, right?
It's almost always a bad experience. And it is such a low-hanging fruit to just be great at customer service, to differentiate yourself from the guy down the street. And I actually had customer service written down too as part of the decommoditization, because how do you get away from the McDonald's model? Well, then you adopt the Ruth's Chris model, and that gives you pricing power right there. Why do you pay, $50 for a steak at Ruth's Chris and $2 for ground beef at McDonald's? Because the experience.
Hopefully it is. Hopefully it's
probably came from the same cow.
Not the same parts.
Seriously.
Not the same parts.
But
I think just being able to ask yourself, would I even use me as a tax preparer?
Mm-hmm.
Would I be attracted to my business or not? Would this be an experience I would pay for?
Yeah.
And I think in a lot of cases, some folks would say, I don't know, maybe not. I'd probably try to find something better or something a little bit more attentive to my needs and what I'm desiring.
Yeah.
So that's the second one. The third one is getting your ideal clients. And this is something that's come a theme for you and I in our discussions. But I don't know a lot of folks out there that, first of all, can really define who their ideal client, make time to go get their ideal client, and know what to do to find and get their ideal client. And I think that's a missed opportunity. I don't think enough folks are doing that. They're reacting mostly to what comes in the door or what emails they get or what gets referred to them. And those are all great. I'm not saying say no to those things. What I really want is them to be proactive. I want them to be proactive at knowing what they want and finding it and getting it. Like there's a thrill to that hunt. And there's a real satisfaction on when you get those clients that are ideal for you. I get to meet one here in 20 minutes or so that, I had to really hunt for, and he was ideal. And it took me a long time to get him. And by long time, I mean, 6 to 8 hours of my effort to get him. And now he's a client and he is my ideal. And even being able to work with him now, I get more excited about it. I'm preparing more for it. I'm a little bit nervous even, when I meet those ideal clients, but today, I've got 2 of them today, but at the end of the day, I'm just so much more satisfied with what I'm doing in my career by having the chance to work with those ideal clients. But I don't think enough time and energy is being spent because there's so much to react to,
mm-hmm.
which just means you got to learn how to say no to the things that aren't ideal. Like I'm not going to say yes to, the shitty service. I want to go find the really good service, and being proactive in that.
You bet. I don't know here, similar to that. I think marketing is in line with this. I think a lot of CPA firms and EA firms are not marketing, and there's some confusion between marketing and advertising. When I say marketing, I'm not saying go spend dollars to get your message out. It's the intentionality of finding the ideal client. Pick the person you're after and figure out how to appeal to them.
Well, my fourth one is building succession. I mentioned this a moment ago. Succession can be a sale. Succession can be a transfer of ownership. Succession can be, hanging out a really long time at a firm beyond your years and letting someone else do all the work. Succession comes in different forms, but I would imagine there's a lot of folks listening that, maybe don't have a succession plan, or maybe it's just in the back of their head, or maybe they just anticipate shutting their doors someday because they're not worried about it.
Yeah.
And one day they're there and one day they're not. And those clients get reassigned somewhere else. But I think there's so much satisfaction and there's so much certainty, and many of the needs that us humans have are satisfied by building a succession plan. And if I went through the human needs, it's significance, it's growth, it's contribution, it's love and connection, it's variety, and it's certainty. Those are the basic 6 needs. It's kind of a Maslow's hierarchy kind of thing.
Right.
But when you have a succession plan, it allows you to feel that significance of having a business that's going to be passed down, the growth that comes from it, not only from you, but from whoever you're succeeding it to, or the firm that's going to be sold. The contributions you might be making, the certainty it provides you and your family of knowing that there is a plan for how this exit will occur someday. The variety that comes with succession and considering the different ways in which you may create it. And then the love and connection that may come from connecting with someone who's going to take over your business, or you're going to sell the business too. There's so many of the needs are satisfied by having a succession plan. And I think it's a place where people look, if you've got a solopreneur, then it's ultimately up to them probably to sell it, unless they want to grow and scale and build up, those below them and make a partner out of somebody. But as you get to a certain size and you start developing folks that are no longer just preparing, but are starting to review, you're getting to a spot where you could create succession. But how often is it really talked about? How often is it really planned out? How often is it really intentional? And I think it's a missed opportunity for many firms to consider what that plan is.
You bet. Begin with the end in mind. And what you mentioned, was it either last week or last meeting or a couple meetings ago, that you differentiated goals, vision, and one other item. I can't remember what that was, but
vision, goals, and tactics.
There you go. Yeah. And I think this is the vision piece of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Because then you can attach all kinds of goals and tactics to it. But the vision is ultimately, is this something that there's not a lot of choices, really? Is this something I'm going to end up selling? Is this something I'm going to end up closing? Or is this something I'm going to end up giving to someone else, below me?
Yeah.
But really that, at least, I can get more creative than that, I guess, but those are the basic three.
Sure.
And just even having a vision of one of those three and which one you're trending towards tells you what you need to be doing right now. Am I going to try to build something that has a higher valuation? Am I going to build something that just is building people so that they can do the work that I'm doing instead of me? Or is this something I can give a shit about? I just want to keep making my income until I can't do it anymore, and then I'm going to turn it off one day. But I think, each of those paths are distinct. It's different ways up the mountain. And some are harder than others, for sure. And some would say building, a succession plan where you're developing people internally to take over, they would say that's the hardest. But I would challenge that to say that, just closing the doors is almost just as hard, just because of what it takes out of you, just to turn that off as quickly and as much as important as it's become to you and your family and your lives, as well as it's just as hard to find someone that's going to buy you, because they're not going to value it as much as you want, and they're not going to make it as easy, and it's not going to be on your timeline, and they're going to make you stick around for a couple of years. And it's hard too. They're all hard. So instead of focusing on the level of difficulty, focus on what you want.
Yep. You bet. I did not have that.
Didn't have that one, but it does bring me to my fifth one, which is, creating the business you want. And again, this is a common theme for you and I, but it's actually just to step back for a second, and the data and the service model and the types of clients you're working with, and whether you have a vision or not, they all contribute to this last one. But if you step back from your business and actually look to how you're operating it, is that a business that you would buy? Is that a business you would actually invest in? Is it a business that you would take over? And you may struggle with that question a little bit and be like, nah, I don't think I'd like that. But yet here we are, and we're in it. Is this something that someone be interested in stepping into or taking over? Maybe, maybe not. But creating that space just to step back, to look at the business, how it works. Like, what's the business model? What is, and you and I have had our conversations about it doesn't exist in public accounting.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth is there is something that exists. And what exists is basically a do whatever you can with as much time as you can model.
Yeah.
But what would that model look like? What would it prefer to look like? Like for me, and this has always been a pipe dream of mine, and I'm trying to build it into my business today. Like, I want my summers off. And I'm not talking like May to September. I'm talking like June to August.
Sure.
Where I shut the doors, turn off the lights, I'll walk away for a couple months. And what better profession to do that in than accounting?
No kidding.
Because there's no primary deadlines after June 15th until August.
Right.
But yet, they still work, they still go in, they still serve, they still do things. And that's great. Especially if it's something they want to be doing. But my point is not necessarily to take summers off. My point is create the business you want.
Yeah.
Create the hours that you work, that you want to work, rather than what you have to react to. Create the experience, not just for your clients, but for yourself on how this business should be. I think there's a rut that a lot of business owners get into in public accounting, where they just do what they quote unquote have to do, and they feel like it's just what they have to do, and that leads to burnout. And it happens frequently, whether it's once a year or many times a year. But when it's your own business, like, doesn't it kind of seem asinine? Like, 100%. Why would you do that to yourself?
You started this business to create the freedom that you think you could have, and now it's thicker chains attached to you now. It's so you can make the decisions. I mean, it's your business. Do whatever you want.
Well, but to my point of the creating the business, I mean, it's basically just to say, like, okay, how do I want my business to work? Like, when do I want to work? How much do I want to work? What kind of clients do I want to serve? What kind of services do I want to provide? And being able to step back and compare that to what you're actually doing.
Right.
And that then creates the opportunity to start shifting and making changes and saying no to things that you shouldn't be doing, that aren't part of the business you want. And I know some, so I'm not going to say all, but I know some that have done it, but I know a lot more that haven't. They've stepped into public accounting, whether they came from a firm or started independently or took over for a family or whatever it is, and they've inherited whatever it was, and they've let it go on for too long as someone else's trash, someone else's burnout, someone else's pain in the ass. Right. And it's just, it's unfortunate, but I think maybe they feel stuck and this is just the way it is. And that's not the case at all.
No,
it's not the case at all. It does take intention, but it can change.
You bet.
That's my fifth one.
You said intention. All of these are being intentional. It's sure. That's the biggest thing. Running your business by default is the number one killer of small public accounting firms, or maybe not killer, but lifestyle killer or happiness killer. So
yeah, throw an adjective on there. Yeah.
Yep. Get intentional. Cool. All right.
Did you have any others?
I didn't. So I didn't have the building succession, but mine were pretty much the same as yours. Other than that, the only additional thing I had is niching, and that kind of goes along with marketing. I think that is just the most important thing, along with the decommoditization aspect of it. Figure out how to not be the same as the guy down the street. And if you're not the same, then you don't have to have this race to the bottom for pricing.
Right.
So customer service, your marketing plan, not advertising plan, marketing plan.
Sure.
Data, looking at what you have, figure out how to be different. And then that gives you the pricing power to create a firm that can be a lifestyle firm if you want to take summers off, or if you want to work all year round and make a buttload of money, you can do that too.
Yeah, I don't judge, and you shouldn't judge. It should be a choice, though. Like, I think that's that to me is the most important piece. Like, choose.
Yeah.
It's like those old books. I don't know if you ever read Choose Your Own Adventures growing up, but I did. And they were these little, 130-page books. And you get to page 2 and it'd be like, you got to the cave. Do you go in the cave or do you go around it? And you're like, I'm going in it. And then you're dead. And if you went around it, then you'd keep going on the adventure and you'd have to flip pages to whatever happened. But the business model that a lot of folks are in, they're not choosing it. And they feel stuck in it. They feel like this is just the only way it is. And because of the summertime, when you need so much time to recoup and take breaks and be time with family, busy season comes so quickly that it doesn't give you that chance to breathe and to step back and to assess, and then you just continue on this hamster wheel again of keeping your firm alive and your family happy and everything else. But it doesn't have to be that way.
No.
And that's what I guess if there's anything I hope comes out of this conversation for folks to listen is that it doesn't have to be the way it is. It should be more like what you want it to be. And if there's anything I hope for everyone is that in this next busy season, it's more of what they want and less of what they don't.
You bet. Awesome. Well, I know you're short on time, Doug, so we'll end it there and pick up next week. So thanks everyone for coming in, and thank you, Doug, for your input as always.
Of course. Cheers. Thanks for watching this episode of the Practicing Accountant podcast. We hope these 5 key practices inspire you to make meaningful changes in your firm. Remember, it's about creating a business that works for you, not the other way around. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with your network and leave us a review. Join us next time for more insights and strategies to elevate your accounting practice. Till then, stay intentional. Thanks for watching.